again to our reading of the Greek New Testament, and we're reading Matthew's Gospel, chapter 24, and this is the last section starting at verse 36. Again, this has pericopes in Mark and in various parts of Luke. Peridetes hemeras ekenas kai horas udes uden. Ude hoi angeloi ton uranon udi hopios me hopate monos. But regarding that day, this is the day that's been mentioned earlier, the day of the coming of the Son of Man, and the hour. So regarding the day, that day and the hour, udes oiden, from oida, no one knows. We get ude and ude, neither the angels of the heavens, ude hotheos, neither the Son. Ame is used idiomatically very commonly in Greek, meaning except. So except hopate monos, except only, or literally except the Father alone. Hospega hoi hemerai tu noi. Hutos esti he parousia tu huiou tu anthropou. For just as the days of Noah, thus the coming, the parousia, the presence of the Son of Man, estai, will be. Future from Amy. Hoska esen entais hemerais ekenais, and that's in square brackets, tais pro tu cataclysmou, trogontes kai pinontes, gamuntes kai gamidzontes, acri hes hemeras es elthen noe es ten kiboton. For, now the hose here has that sense of just as. It's like hose bear or something. So, for as it was in those days, and those are in brackets. Now we get tais for heis in which here is a sort of relative, but in those days it's the ones pro to cataclysmou, literally before the cataclysm, so before the flood. Trogontes, trogo is the word, the meaning of it originally meant to munch. So it was quite a noisy word. It's probably been softened a bit by the time you get to New Testament Greek, and you can just translate it as eating. You could push it a little bit of sort of gorging themselves, but trogo is the word to munch. Interestingly, it's the word that's used elsewhere in the New Testament when Jesus talks about eating his flesh. He uses this trogo verb here as well, so it may have softened by this stage in meaning. So I'll just translate eating and drinking. We get these string of participles here. Gamuntes from gamio, marrying, kai gamid, this from gamizdo, to give in marriage. So marrying and giving in marriage. Acri hes hemeras es elthen noa es ten kiboton. Until the day on which, we get this relative pronoun that occurs before its antecedent. Well, so it's slightly idiomatic. So right up until the day when, or the day on which, and it gets attracted into the genitive by its position, on which Noah, as elthen, entered into the kiboton. This is the word for the ark, and it's the word used in the Septuagint. And you'll notice that it's a second declension noun, but it's feminine. So it's he kibotos, second declension, but it is a feminine noun, with those ones like hodos and so on. Kai uk egnosan heos elthen hokataclysmos kai eren hapantes hutos estai kai he perusia tu huiou tu anthropou. and they did not realize, they did not know from ginosko, but they did not realize it until the cataclysmos, the flood came, kai eren pantes, and, well, it took all of them. This is from airo, to raise. It can also have that meaning of take, to destroy even. And took them all. We often use that unpleasant expression to take someone out, which means to kill them. So it's the same idea, I think, here. And killed them all. Thus will the coming of the Son of Man be. From Estai. So thus will be the coming, and there's a chi in brackets. If we read that, it means also. So thus also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Tote duo esontai into agro, hes paralambanatai kai hes aphiatai. At that time there will be two in the field. Hes, one, paralambanatai, passive, one is being taken, kai hes aphiatai. Now this is from aphiemi, which has such a wide range of meanings in New Testament Greek and elsewhere. It can just mean to release or to let go. Here it has more the sense of just leave behind. It can also mean to forgive as well, but here it has the sense of leave behind. So one is taken and one is left behind. This is just the present from aphiemi. Sorry, aphiemi, I should say. Duo alethusai ento mulo mea paralambanatai kai mea aphiatai. We get another example here. Two. Now this is two women. This is a feminine participle. The verb is aletho, which means to grind corn. Aletho is to grind, i.e. corn. So two women are grinding corn at, rather than in there, or you could say in the mill or at the mill. One is taken and one is left behind. Gorete un hoti uk oidati poia hemera hokurios. I'll have to continue that on the next page. Therefore, our Gregorio is to keep wide awake, to keep your wits about you. So keep awake, therefore, because you do not know, poia hemera, on what sort of, poios is what sort of, on what sort of day, we would just say what day, but what sort of day, hokurios, the Lord, humon, your Lord, erkatai, is coming. Ekeno de ginoskete hoti in hede ho oikodom, hoi oikodespotes poia fulake hokleptes erkatai, egregoresen an kai uk an asen dioruktenai ten oikion autu. Know that, and this is just a neuter here, so know that, and we get another hottie here. So it's sort of know this very thing for the akeno. It's hard to translate it literally. Or you know this, you know that thing, you know that situation, that if the oikodespotes, if the master of the house, Ade is from oida, this is the past tense from oida, if, and it's the, so we translate it as a pluperfect really, so if the master had known on what sort of fulake, now fulake of course is guard, but probably the sense here is watch of the night. The night was divided up into different parts, and you had people on guard at various different times of the night, which is what the sense is here, I think. So if the master of the house had known on what sort of night watch the thief comes, egegores, and there's that Gregorio verb again. He would have kept awake, and he would not have allowed, this is from eao, this is the past tense from eao, he would not have allowed him, diarukhthenai, well, translated often to break into his house. The verb here is diorusso with a double sigma. Orusso is to dig through. And we just translate it as break in, but of course if your house is made of mud bricks and things, then the best way of, or the easiest way of breaking in is simply to dig through the wall. And hence they use this verb to dig through to represent what we would just say to break in. So he would not allow him to break into his house. Diatutok kai humes genesthai hetoimoi. On account of this, you also be hetoimoi ready. Hoti a u dokete hora hoprios tu antipo urkatai. Yeah, now this is a little bit tricky because again you've got a relative pronoun that's actually coming before, not after its antecedent. So you take the second bit first, I think. For the Son of Man come, because the Son of Man comes, hora in the hour, and then take the relative pronoun on which u dokete, you do not expect, from dokio, to seem or to think. Perhaps here translated as expect, or in the hour you do not think it will happen, you do not expect it. And the last little pericope is only in, a little story here is only also in Luke's Gospel. Tis ara estin hopistos doulos kai phronimos hon katastes en hokurios epites oi keteas autu, to dunai autois ten trophein en kairo. Now we've got a lovely little particle here. You don't get too many particles in biblical Greek. You get a lot more in classical Greek, especially in Homer, but you should enjoy these when you see them and not just ignore them. Who, we translate it just as then, I think, but who, and it's a question, who then is the faithful servant? Now, by the way, the origins of ara, the word itself probably comes from the root ara, connected with ararisco, which is to put together. And certainly in earlier Greek, ara had the sense of accordingly or appropriately. So it has that sort of, by the time you get to biblical Greek, the meaning's softened quite a lot, and it's just often just translated as then, but originally had the sense of as you might expect. So who then is the faithful slave, the slave who is faithful and phronimos and prudent, one who thinks about what they're doing? It's connected with phrein, the mind. So faithful and prudent, whom the Lord katastesan will establish over his oiketeas. This is an abstract noun. You can see the oikos, house root here. This is the household. It has the general sense of the household slaves, the running of the house. Probably household slaves in some collective sense here because of what the autois here. 2 plus infinitive, so as to give to them, that is to the slaves, to the servants, tan trophein, their food, their nourishment, en kairo, at the appropriate time. So the Lord has established him over the house, and one of his jobs is to make sure that the servants are properly fed, and that's what this is about. Makarios hodrulos ekenos, blessed is that slave, that servant, hon, whom hokurios autu elthon, the Lord, his master having come, his Lord having come, hurese, will find acting in this way. This is the future from heurisco, slightly irregular form here. Poio is to do. I think acting is probably good here, acting in this way, acting appropriately. Amen lego humin hoti epipasin tois hupakois kusin autu katastase auton. Truly I say to you that, now the main verb is here, katastase, he will establish him, epi, over all the things which exist of him, that is, all his possessions. Hupako as a verb can often just be used in place of the verb to be. The meaning of it is to exist, and it's often used as a participle here, a dative plural participle of all the things that exist for you, that is all your possessions. So he will establish him over all his possessions. Ean de epe hokelos doulos ekenos ente cardia autu. And if, but is a nice de here, but if the wicked or the evil, or that evil slave might say in his heart, chronisde mu hokurios. Now, chronisdo is to delay. You can see that chronos, time root there, to let time pass, and hence to delay. And it is the standard word for delay, or a lot of long time has passed. In classical Greek, you can often just say, if you haven't seen someone for a while, you just say chronisde, it's been a long time. So here it's delayed, so my master is delayed, kai aksetai tupten tus sundulus autu, and he begins, now these are all subjunctives after the ean, and he might begin tuptain, to strike, to hit, to beat his fellow slaves, and then we get these subjunctives, SDA, and he eats and he drinks with those who are, well, drunkards, I think probably is the best way of translating it. Methuo is one of the words for drink. We get methylated spirit and so on from all that. So methuo is to drink, but it has the sense of drink strong alcohol and hence become very drunk. So he eats and drinks with the drunkards. Hexe, from future from heiko, with a kappa. His master, the master of that slave, hexe, will come en hemere, in the day, he, in which, u prostoka, this is from prostokao, it's an alpha contract verb, in which he does not expect, and kai en hora, and in the hour in which he does not know. Kai dikotomese auton, kai tomeros autu metaton hypokriton, they say. Now this is a very strong word here. It means to cut in two pieces. And so, it's probably not meant to be taken literally here. I don't think he cuts him in two. Perhaps often translated punish severely, but it's funny. It's just an overreach here in this story. Literally, he will cut him in two, so he'll punish him severely, and his portion. He will place, they say, from Tithami, he will place his portion among the hypocrites. Eka estai hoc klauthmos, kai hobrugmos ton adonton. We've seen this verse before. In that place, there will be weeping and the gnashing of teeth. And that's the end of chapter 24.